Please say that everybody can hear me. Awesome. Sorry about that, guys. I apologize massively. I'm not sure what happened there. This is going to be like a trial run. This is the very first live that we've done. All the tests up until this point have worked fine. Come to going live, the actual first time, I play the trailer and then everything freezes. So I do apologize for that. We've got a guest tonight that wants to speak to us about some of his experiences, and this is kind of the format that I'm going to try and run these lives on. If you all remember the great podcast pioneer Art Bell, the way that he formatted his shows, that's kind of how I want to base these lives around. So we are going to be dragging guests in to talk about their experiences, have a chat, even if you've not got an experience and you just want to come and talk to me about some of these interesting things that are happening around the world, then that's perfectly fine. We've got a link in the description of this video. And if you click that, that will bring you into the waiting room in the back. I can add you onto the lives and we can have a conversation. We've got Robert, like I said today, he's in the waiting room now as we speak. So I'll bring Robert on soon. Always interested to see what people have got to say and what their experiences have been. So, Robert, if you can hear me, are you there, mate?
Hi there. Yep, I can hear you fine. Yep. Can you hear me okay? Can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. I'm good. Sorry.
Yeah, you keep cutting out.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm the same for you.
Can you hear?
No, it's really not working this end, I'm afraid. I mean, I've got a really good Wi-Fi signal, a good Wi-Fi speed, so I don't know if it's your end, but
Yeah, it's ever since we've gone live. So before going live,
I
the
can hear you
signal's saying
now.
full strength, but then we've gone live and it's just dropped out.
So I can hear you now, and it seems to be fairly stable. So yeah. So yeah.
Yeah. Can anybody else hear me in the comments? Everyone's saying they can hear me, and you can hear me as well. Okay, Robert?
Yeah, I can, yeah.
Brilliant. That's perfect. So, Robert, if you want to just bring us in from the start about your experiences, things that you...
Yeah, so I'm 43 years old, live in the UK, Derbyshire, and I took an interest in these beings. At one time, I never would have thought that they'd have been in the UK. Started following a certain British Bigfoot research channel, became a patron, etc. And there was an account which was actually nearby to where I live, which triggered my interest. Can you still hear me okay? Yeah.
Yeah, I can still, yeah.
So what I don't want to do is take up too much of this show because basically, I got put through an ordeal at the hands of these beings, which started when basically I was investigating and putting up sly game cameras, recording them audio-wise, chasing them down on my e-bike, photographing the structures in the woods, etc. I got to the point where I knew too much, because it's not hard to figure in the UK, sort of where they might reside, like Matlock, old railway tunnel, old garden centre, the old troglodyte mines. So I sort of figured out a lot in a quick, short space of time, became a real irritant to these beings. I had a bluff charge, which I ignored, low growls thrown at me, which I also ignored. I didn't show them respect, basically. And they turned on me, believe it or not. And my story is fully backed up by a lie detector test, which I paid for to prove my integrity and honesty, because what I went through was like up there with alien abduction. If I was to get into it to the level it went on basically for 7 months of hell.
Yeah, whereabouts in the country was this, Robert?
Okay, so Derbyshire in the Midlands, not too far from you. Matlock, basically. I got driven out of my home in Matlock, where I lived for 8 years. So these beings, as some of you might be aware, some of you might not, have an acclaimed ability to infrasound or stroke, electromagnetically bombard, a person's home. And that's exactly what they was doing to me on a massive scale. So, as I say, tonight, I just want to sort of touch on this harassment, what I went through, but I'd certainly be interested in communicating with Ben and sort of presenting with my lie detector. I've got gigabytes and gigabytes of audio of these beings and evidence of this infrasound bombardment, even a photograph of one peeping over a wall at me, and a lot of sort of evidence, which I'd certainly be interested in sharing with you. I mean, the lie detector test itself is a powerful.
So when you say beings, Robert, are you talking more extraterrestrial or cryptid?
No, cryptid, yeah, cryptid. So I first sighted one basically when I placed the recorder down Cromford Canal. I hid it behind a fence post on my e-bikes. I had this really good electric mountain bike. I turned back round and I thought, oh, I best count what post I put it behind. So I turned back round, kicked my torch up, shone it to the right on the garden centre where there's also teepees now in the derelict garden centre. Shone it to the left onto the train line. That's when I seen the body mass of a hair-covered being peeping out at me, then going back in, then coming back out and going back in, a Bigfoot. And it was actually cream coloured. That's what colour it was. So I had it pinned in my torchlight. I didn't feel scared. I didn't feel uneasy. I actually thought I'd been building a bit of a rapport with these characters. I'd recorded them about 8 times now. And I'll just get this in as well. That every time I left a recorder, fair enough, I didn't do it in a special agent sort of manner, but it got found and interacted with, and it picks up all fake owl calling or barking, gets handled, the disgruntled, you can tell at times. You know, loads of sort of evidence is caught on these audio recordings. So that was my first sighting down Cromford Canal. And yeah, so it was.
Yeah, that's amazing. So is this a location that's commonly got reports coming in about cryptids and other strange things?
So I've actually got an article myself, which is called Wild Man of the Peak, which is an article from 1905 where a wild man was living in these parts around Bakewell. It jumped out on the women on the golf course twice and Haddon House. And basically all the village of Bakewell was hunting this wild man. Says the butcher, the baker, and the candlestick maker all had the blunderbusses, or the police was after him, trying to kill this wild man, basically, who scaled the peaks with superhuman speed. They were seeing will-o'-the-wisp lights in the woods. They never caught him. And in addition to that, there's quite a few accounts on the British Bigfoot Research Channel of sightings in the area. I say it was a sighting in the area, an 8-foot like monkey-faced man, and what's Robin Hood Lane, what's Stanwell, what triggered me to place my first audio recorder. So I just want to warn people, basically, that these beings are in the UK and they can be a very negative force, shall we say, and you know, to really pay them respects and not try and trick them and do the mistakes I did where I angered them. And so I'm just going to. I don't want to dominate this show too much. I want other people.
No, Robert, it's absolutely fine. That's what this show's about, mate. It's a place
so
for people to come on.
Basically, when they started infrasound in my home, I noticed an odd interference in all my electronics and an odd hum outside. And basically, the characters was turning up. It happened exactly at the same time as the first coronavirus lockdown, when people wasn't allowed out, when we had to stay off the streets, we wasn't allowed to go anywhere. That's exactly when this happened. I placed a game cam on the railway line opposite my home, chasing down on my e-bike, and basically they busted me putting the game cam up. They were tapping the back of the game cam, caught me out doing that again, and simply followed me home with its eyes. That's all it had to do, this Bigfoot being. And I can remember being laid on the settee and seeing 2 characters like swaying left to right on the down by the river, because the river runs down there as well, like with red eyes looking back at me. And then the next night the harassment started, where these same characters that I'd been recording, or this fake owl calling, or barking and yelling and stuff, was actually coming to my home. And that's when the harassment started, this being launched off the cliff at the back of my home. So I started getting this really odd interference in all my electronics. Like, people talk about Bigfoot being able to pick up electronics and interfere with them and stuff like that. Certainly, I've got loads of evidence for that. So this odd interference came on my electronics. And 2 nights of this, I started feeling really affected and funny by it, and scared. Fear was a big part of it. And basically, it was sort of Bigfoot voodoo, what I called it in my mind at that point. Couldn't make sense of what was happening to me. Went online trying to figure it all out. Came across this claimed ability that they can infrasound. And that was what they was doing to me, basically. And they did it to such a degree that it actually drove me out of that home where I moved from Matlock.
Yeah, so this is something we hear about a lot. I mean, the infrasound phenomena, animals that we're aware of, like the Bengal tiger, will use certain levels of infrasound. So it's definitely a real aspect of these creatures. Now, would you say these creatures are flesh and blood, or more like an extraterrestrial?
So that's what I was just going to touch on. And so they harassed me in Matlock for 3 months and drove me out of my home there. And so things got really personal between me and them, where I was really angry. I was like, I can't come out with the obscenities what I came out with, but I was like, get lost, you scum, spitting, and do you know what I mean? I was really digging deep in that regard because he was getting me all the time with this underhand weapon, this infrasound, making my life hell, and it just felt like they was doing it too much. It was like, just back, leave me alone now. I'd begged them to leave me. I'd asked, I'd pleaded, I'd gifted, I'd done all these things, etc. And so basically, it was after that that I moved to my next home and I got to see the supernatural side of these beings, where I've seen them in the physical twice and I've seen them about 9 times. And my story is backed up by lie detector people. So I'm not somebody who's come on here to talk crap and talk lies. And I'll provide that lie detector to Ben for him to go through, as well as I've got loads of evidence. I'd happily be more than willing to do that. So during this next period, where they harassed me for a further 4 months, I got to see the supernatural side of these beings, and all these are things what people claim, like the portals that they can turn invisible. I've been run up on in the invisible. Basically, the black shadow form I was seeing no end of times. So these, when people are talking about these things, they're not lying. They're honestly not lying. I've got to witness it. I've suffered 7 months of harassment, and for the first 3 months, I thought there was totally flesh and blood beings. Till I moved 12 miles away to Chesterfield from Matlock, and all of a sudden because I was tagged. Whenever I was in Matlock, I'd try and escape them, and they'd turn up and they'd blast me with infrasound. I've had that happen before. Physically like blast me with like an aeroplane engine frequency. So that, and then they'd be getting me at my home all the time, of course. And so then it was when I moved to Chesterfield. And I'd been warned, actually, funnily enough, by a friend of the BBR channel saying not to kick the stick structures down, which I joked in an email, because they might follow me to my next home. I didn't give it any consideration. I was like, follow me to my next home, just read it and carried on. But that's exactly what happened. Tagged. People talk about a tagging phenomenon, and they sort of heightened my frequency with this infrasound, and they got me tagged, where they turned up at my next home, basically. Again, all this is backed up by a lie detector, because what I went through was crazy. A TP appeared in the trees opposite me, and this infrasound started up again, and they made my life hell there. And I got to see so much of the paranormal aspect of these beings that people are not lying when they talk about how it was there 1 minute and then they seen it disappear in front of their eyes. I've witnessed all that sort of phenomenon, and that's here in the UK. And again,
yeah.
So my lie detector, I'll just come my lie detector, and then I'll let other people speak. But I'd happily speak in the future if you wanted to talk in more in depth of what I went through. So my lie detector, I paid £400 for it. I had them come to my home, liedetectortest.co.uk. After it all ended, to prove basically my integrity, my sanity to my family and stuff, that I'd not, that I was telling the truth throughout all of this ordeal. And so the question was, have I seen what I know for sure to be a cryptid stroke Bigfoot? The actual question was Bigfoot. And I said yes, and I told the truth. And then the next one was the only reason I left my home in Matlock due to the harassment from these cryptids? So that's the only reason. Do you know what I mean? No other reason. And I answered yes, that's the only reason. And I passed that question. So that's quite powerful. And then the third one was, have I seen these cryptids on more than 4 occasions? And I answered yes, told the truth. And then the final one, have I knowingly told a single lie about my cryptid experience? No, I have not told a single lie, and I passed that. So that's quite powerful in its own right. I'm only a builder, and yet I passed that sort of police grade lie detector test.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant, Robert. Just one more question before we wrap this up. It's been amazing to have you on the channel and sharing that story with us. So thank you. But did you ever experience anything with the paranormal growing up? Because this is kind of a usual pattern that we see. These childhood phenomena like the paranormal do follow us in adult life as well.
I did actually. I lived in a shop. I grew up in a shop, and we did have a ghost there, if you like, what used to come see me as a youngster. But I know you. Yeah, it might be a common thing that it's tied in, but it was just the fact that these beings started harassing me and turned on me, and I angered them. So things got so intense. And to be straight with you, Ben, they nearly took me to my death. I'd had enough of them bullying me. I mean, I'm not going to lie, because it was a one-sided fight. What could I do back in return? And not a great deal. And this infrasound is quite horrible. So just to tell some of your people a little bit about infrasound, and it's below the human hearing range, but yeah, it affects a human. Gives you fear, brain fog, impending feelings of impending doom, confusion, all these sort of feelings that infrasound can do. Like you say, certain animals use it to stun the prey, don't they? And so, So in regard to the paranormal aspect, I did experience as a kid, but it was only that I got to witness so much of the paranormal aspect of these beings because they had to show it me to carry on continuing to get me at this next place where I'd moved to. But I got to see a lot. 7 months, 210 nights and days. It used to happen in the day as well. And for 3 months, I didn't witness the paranormal aspect. I couldn't figure out a lot of the time why I could never actually see them on my cliff behind me. I bought an infrared camera, and it turned out they could flush that red. I've got video evidence of that. They could literally flush the infrared camera out red whenever I pointed it at 2 perches, what they had. So I've also got some very interesting video footage, what I'd love to share with you sometime in the future. It's really distorted from the infrasound bombardment, but there's like a Sasquatch and an alien head right next to it in the tree opposite my second bedroom window.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, Robert, this is absolutely amazing, and it sounds like we can dive much further into all these things that you've been experiencing. So we will definitely get you back on at some point. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll definitely get you back on, Robert, at some point. 'Cause there's loads more that I'd like to ask you about. Thank you so much for coming on, buddy. I really do appreciate that.
Yeah. Okay, mate. I'll let you up, and and then I can send you my lie detector and some of this stuff that I've got, and we can pick this up on another show. So it literally just scratch the surface of it. Okay, buddy.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for coming on, buddy. You take it easy.
Thank you. Okay, bye.
Okay, guys, so that was obviously really, really interesting there from Robert. He had some amazing stories to tell us, and it seems like he's been through hell and back with these creatures and some of the things that he's been experiencing. I've got a few more people now lined up at the bottom that are waiting to come onto the channel, and I don't know what order these come in, so do forgive me if you are in the back room waiting to come on. I will get round to you, I promise. The next person we've got on is Dave Foot, so I'll bring you on now, Dave. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Dave. Thank you for joining me. It's an absolute pleasure, buddy.
Yeah, and you. Yeah, great channel, by the way.
You've got some kind of story, some weird things have been happening. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Can I just say, Robert's story was incredible. Really good listen to.
Absolutely incredible, and it's amazing to think that some people out there are actually going through this stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. It does happen. Yeah. My query is more about, well, my observations is I'm a fisherman, sea fisherman. I've had my own boat for years. I grew up on the West Coast. I mean, in the 60s, 70s, 80s. I'm also do wild camping like yourself, up in the lakes and what have you. Mainly based around the West Coast. My thing is, ever since I was a child, back in the early 70s, I've always seen, even when I was night lining, which is banned now, which is fishing, was flashing lights bouncing side to side, up and down, up and down. Now, the thing is, with us fishermen at the time, even on the boats, we said in the early 70s that there's something phenomenal going out there. Do we ring the police? Do we tell? And we eventually got told, oh, forget about it. Nobody will listen to you, whatever. And it still happens to this day. It's between the Barrow base, the nuclear submarine base, and probably British Aerospace, which is Wharton. It's near Liverpool, Preston area. And to this day, they are getting more apparent. I can go outside and I'll still see these things bouncing around. And to this day, like us, the fishermen, we still have no idea what it is.
It's absolutely it's amazing, Dave, to have you on, because I've been trying to make contact with some of these guys that are out there in the boats, some of these rock anglers as well, because I always feel like you guys are out there. You've got the best experience firsthand from where you are. I mean, if you look at places like Flamborough Head and Bempton, I look out at sea sometimes, and I see these boats, these shipping containers, and I think, I bet those guys could tell some stories. Like, they're out there all the time, sometimes months on end, crystal clear skies. Them guys will see some things that that I'd love to hear about. So it's great to have you on. Do you want to go into detail about what it was that you saw then, Dave? Like, on your experience?
Yeah. It's like a bouncing ball. That's all I can say. It's far too fast for anything. I mean, any conventional, you know, aircraft or whatever. I mean, you're just crushing the speed they were traveling, you know. And this is in front of cloud, not just behind cloud on a clear night. It's actually in front of cloud. So
And
if
did
you
you
can
ever see
understand, you know,
these go into the water, out of the water?
they never go into the water. No, it's usually along the coastline, which is what it's 12 miles, so we say, you know, so we say, whether that's true or not. But no, it's usually bouncing around the area. I mean, don't forget, just north of Barrow, the nuclear base, you've got the nuclear subs, the FAS lane and what have you, which goes into the British Canal, the forgotten the name of it, the channel there. So every time, say there's a submarine launched or what have you, if you follow marine tracking, you'll know that there's certain boats out there, military boats or, you know, naval boats or whatever, you know, that these things will start bouncing again from side to side, and they are so fast you just cannot record them, you know.
That's
and like I say, this is going back from the 70s, you know, and I've been a sea fisherman all of my life, you know, and we still cannot explain. We don't even bother telling people anymore, you know, what we're seeing out there. I said the same thing.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was just going to say, David, I know you say you don't want telling people anymore, but I'm really pleased that you have. And I'm really pleased that you've come up to share this story because more people need to know about this stuff. I mean, I think a lot of the time when we try to open up and talk about these experiences, instantly people think that we're crazy. But you've got people out that are hard working people, like you said, fishermen, rock anglers, they're all just trying to make a living. They've got no reason to lie about these things. And yet here you are seeing something you can't explain. It's absolutely amazing. So thank you, Dave, for coming on. And again, like I said to Robert, I will get you back on again at some point, mate. So please do join the lives in future and keep in touch.
No problem. Great channel.
Thank you so much, Dave. I really appreciate it.
You
Take it easy. Cheers. Bye. Again, guys, another credible source, that was Dave there, fisherman. And he was talking about how these things have been seen from the 70s and stuff. So this isn't like, you know, we've just made this up to create this channel and to get the likes and subscribers in. It's nothing to do with that. This is real life stuff that's happening. People that are having these experiences, real life people, not just your sci-fi buffs and geeks alike. This is happening to real people. And as we heard with Robert in the first incident, it's affecting people's lives as well. So it's great that I've been able to do this through the power of the internet and give you guys a platform where you can safely come and talk about these things with no ridicule. So I'm just going to bring on Swerve. Can't say that word. I'm going to butcher that. So Swerve, I'll just call you Swerve. I'll bring you on now. Hey, buddy, can you hear me okay?
How are you doing, mate? Are you good?
Yeah, I'm really good. Thank you for joining me.
That's great. Yeah, you've got a really good show going, Ben. Really good. Really subject matter. Really enjoying your channel,
I really appreciate that. I really appreciate it. So have you had some strange experiences as well then, or?
Well, yeah, ever since I was a kid, really. Very varied.
Yeah. More paranormal, or you can just dive in wherever you want, buddy. You can dive in from the start.
Yeah, that's quite varied, really.
Sorry, say that again.
Yeah, varied in all respects. And as I've become more interested in things over the years, they've become more prevalent in my life. Things become more noticeable. You see patterns in things, and you realize that it's a much bigger universe than you initially.
Absolutely.
And there are a lot of things out there what are undiscovered. There's even uncharted lands that ships and aircraft, whether it's commercial or military, have to circumnavigate on their paths.
Yeah.
There's places where people haven't really explored properly yet, including the sea, obviously.
Yeah.
It's what I wanted to cover with you tonight is some of your not most recent videos, but I've seen that you've spent a little bit of time in Howard Dale. And
that's right.
Also Bempton Cliffs, and the very fascinating areas. If you take scientific equipment out there, like certain apparatus, you'll see the geomagnetism is quite different. So when you see and hear about reports of aircraft just going out of control and trying to dive into the sea by themselves on autopilot and stuff like that, I think it's something to do with something that's known as geomagnetic stress in those areas.
Yeah.
And that's because of certain things what have happened or are happening at the time around those places. But
Yeah,
back to
absolutely.
Howard Dale.
I agree. I mean,
sorry.
no, it's okay. We seem to have some kind of delay. It's fine. You just keep talking, buddy. That's absolutely fine.
The Bempton Cliffs thing, I can talk quite in depth on that at another time. Same as a Howard Dale and what's the other place in that area? I always forget where Go Ape is. Dolby Forest.
Dolby Forest. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. There's been quite a lot of things historically, even folklore dating way back around those areas, and old legends and tales, and they kind of correspond with recent events. What I mean by recent events is certain things that have happened there around them areas since the 70s.
Yeah.
Or they've been documented more. They've been documented more since the 70s. They've probably been always going on. People have. Yeah.
Swerve, are you there? Yeah, we seem to have lost Swerve. If Swerve, can you hear me? Okay, I'll just pass this over to my brother who's working in the background with all the admin and stuff. Guys, if he comes back on, please bring him back into the show. For now, I'm going to bring on another guest called I Talk Cryptids. So here we go.
Hello, can you hear me, Ben? Hello.
Yeah, I can hear you, buddy. I can hear you.
Sound. So I'm on here. I want to talk about an encounter I had back in 2019, early December.
Yeah, please do. Please do. So
Right,
was this
so
was this a cryptid or a UFO just before we start our paranormal or?
this was I believe it to be a cryptid, but it could also be extraterrestrial as well.
Yeah.
Just because it was reptilian. So yeah, back in 2019. Right, so back in 2019, it was me and my friends, and one of my mates said he knew a spot that was like hidden away, and so we all agreed to go there because it was very because obviously December, there's loads of kids playing in the snow and stuff on fields. So we went there with intentions to build a bushcraft shelter and go to for the rest of the half term. And so when we got there, I thought it looked really cool, like those rivers and stuff. And so there was this barbed wire gate in front of it, so we got over that. And I started recording, just in case anything did happen. My friends, we got up in the forest, like maybe 5-minute walk upwards. And then that's when one of my friends pointed out he saw movement in front of us. And so we all kind of like focused at that spot. And obviously I was recording, and we saw what looks very similar to the dinosaurs in Jurassic Park for raptors.
Yeah,
and it looked very similar to that, like almost identical, and it was running, I wouldn't say away from us, but to our left. And since I was recording, I got it in camera.
What kind of color was this creature? Did this have any kind of form, any scales, any fur, any?
I couldn't see because it was quite a distance, but I'd say it was maybe like a darkish green, or maybe a brown.
And what kind of feelings did at the time? Obviously, I'm assuming that you was more intrigued, or was you more scared at this point of what you were seeing?
Yeah, we were all terrified. Like we all screamed, like we didn't know what it was at first until we looked back at my phone, video we took. So as soon as we saw this thing, I made sure to put my camera towards the direction, hoping I would get a glimpse of it on my camera. And we kind of just we ran all the way back, terrified. We didn't want to get any closer. We didn't want to stay much longer. So we climbed over the gate, and we just went back home. And so when we looked over back at my camera, that's when we saw that it was this dinosaur type creature. Like it had the kind of like two hands, it had the tail and everything. And so we were all kind of intrigued. But I don't have a photo anymore since I've changed phones, and my friend has it, so I'm wanting him to send it to me if he still does. But yeah, it was very intriguing when we did see it.
Yeah, dude, honestly, that sounds amazing. And like, I've always said that these extraterrestrials, if that's what they are, you say dinosaur, and some people might think, well, that's crazy. But I mean, we're talking about Bigfoot, like these bipedal, upright, hairy creatures that are 7 foot plus. You know what I mean? We're talking about grey
Yeah,
aliens with big black wraparound eyes. Then we've got like things like the Flatwoods Monster and all these different creatures and entities, beings, whatever they may be. They all look different. And I think that if they are extraterrestrial, why would they not look all different? So you saying this is a dinosaur, it looked like some kind of a dinosaur being, to me makes perfect sense. It could be any and all of these things.
yeah,
So,
totally. Because
sorry, go on. You speak, dude.
yeah, because obviously, as people, we all look different, so it wouldn't be that out of thought that these beings, whatever they are, do look different as us as humans do.
Yeah. Do you think there's any reason that it should have been in that woods? Is there anything close by? Because the reason I'm asking that is usually there's military bases around. Like a military base is normally a key indicator of high reports of strangeness. So is there anything like that in that area? I
No,
mean,
because
there
the thing is,
doesn't have to be, but
the thing is, it's in a very small village. It's mostly full of elderly people, so you wouldn't suspect any kind of strange phenomenon to happen there.
that's something
But
that I
the
hear about.
thing,
That's something I hear a lot, like speaking to people over the years. In fact, on one of my previous videos with Mark Fennell, he had an experience growing up as well. And one of the things that
mm,
he said to me was you wouldn't expect phenomena to be there. And it's the same with some of these places that I go. You can take people to these places and they're really scenic and beautiful. And unless you mention some of the strange reports that are going on there, you'd never suspect that. And so that is something that I hear a lot of people say all the time is you just wouldn't suspect it, like where this is happening, but it is.
oh yeah, definitely. The thing is, you bring up military bases. We didn't go further on, obviously, but it was like fully like boarded off,
Yeah.
and it said like don't go in, which kind of like intrigued us a bit more.
Yeah,
But it said
absolutely.
like we weren't allowed, no one was allowed to go in.
Yeah, and you did, and you saw something, and that's the weird thing is that
Yeah,
the signs around saying don't go in, you went in, and you saw something. I guess it's like me with my experience growing up. We was told to stand at the
mm,
side of the road and take a quick pee before we set back off on
yeah,
our way again. And I kind of broke the rules a little bit, went up the embankment, and that's when I saw what I saw. So
mm,
I've always said it's chance encounters. It's about breaking the rules, doing something out of character. Like if you get in the car and you drive to point A from point A, sorry, to point B, and you do that every day, taking the same route at the same time, very rarely are you going to see something that's changed. But if you one day wake up and say, actually, I'm going to take this back country lane, you might see
yeah,
something, and that's how it always goes. It's always the spare of the moment. Chance encounters. You always hear it time and time again. Oh, I had this chance encounter. So anyway, thank you so much for coming on, and that story is amazing. I'd like to hear
thank
more,
you.
and I will get you back on, buddy. We've spoke a few times, I believe, aren't we, on YouTube?
Yeah, yeah,
We have, and I love it because I think that you are probably one of my younger age range on the channel. It's amazing to see that young people as well are opening their minds and taking an interest in this stuff. It's not just all us elderly people with too much time in our hands. Young people like yourself
yeah.
are getting involved. So I really do appreciate that. You take it easy, buddy. Look after
You
yourself.
too.
Speak soon.
Uh,
Okay, I think we might have Swerve ready to come back on. We lost Swerve earlier on. He was halfway through his story about his experiences that he'd seen on the coastline there. So we're going to bring Swerve back in. Swerve, are you there now? Can you hear me? Hello, Swerve. Can you hear me? Okay, so we can't seem to bring Swerve back. What I will do is I'll go to some questions from the live chat. So I'm just going to switch over to the comment section. And Gaz, if you can hear me, if you want to start bringing up some questions from people, and I will start answering. But thank you for everyone for being here tonight. It's an absolute pleasure. As I always say, you guys know that I really do appreciate this. I'm not just here for the numbers. I'm not just here to have everybody listen to my voice. That's not what it's about. It's about you guys and having a platform that's safe enough to come on and share some of your experiences without the fear of ridicule. So it looks like Swerve's disappeared now, so we'll remove Swerve. Questions. Has anyone caught Bigfoot on camera in the UK? Has anyone caught? Yeah, there has. There has been some people. It's debatable as to whether it was Bigfoot or not. As with all, paranormal footage, whether it be photos or videos, there's always going to be two sides of that. There's going to be people that genuinely believe it and people that think it's a fake. But there has been things that have appeared in the newspapers here, definitely. Bigfoot sightings. We've had claw marks on trees. We've had footprints and casts taken. So yeah, there's a whole range of things that have been photographed and documented here in the UK. So the next question is from Louise P. I can't understand why the government are so secretive about UFOs. If they were going to harm us, they would have done that by now if they exist. This is true. This is very, very true. Like UFOs is not a new phenomenon. It's been around for many, many years. Our ancestors drew pictures on cave walls of these things. Some of the elderly tribes, they spoke about this, and it's been passed throughout their history and culture for many, many years. Yet we're all still here to talk about it. None of us have been killed, and as far as I'm aware, nobody's ever been killed through the effects of a UFO. Now, people have been harmed, and this is something that's new to me. I spoke to a guy called Steve Merrer. A few of you here might know Steve Merrer. Very, very educated guy, really knowledgeable on the subject of UFOs, extraterrestrials, and he's told me during an interview that some of these craft do harm people. It's not all fun and games getting out there and looking for these things sometimes, and you've got to be careful what you wish for because they're not always these light beings that people like to think. The next question is from David Hunn. Is this going to be a regular show? Ben, I really hope so. I mean, that's dependent on you guys, whether you like to see more of these kind of things. And if you do, if the interest is there, then absolutely, I'll be able to fit these in between the regular upload of me getting out there and exploring. So hopefully you guys are enjoying this. And if you are, then yes, Dave, this will be a regular thing. Daniel Godwin, I'm loving the format of this live, Ben. A very interesting first account from Robert there. Daniel, first of all, buddy, I've seen on social media that you've just had another child that's been recently in hospital. I've seen that you post that on your social media. I do pay attention to you guys. A lot of you don't think, a lot of YouTubers out there don't take the time to get to know your personalities, your characters and stuff. And Daniel, I do. I've seen that you've had a new child, and I really hope that she's doing well. And yeah, the first account of Robert, brilliant, absolutely amazing, blew my mind as well because, like I've said, it seems like he's been going through hell and back with these creatures. Right, we've got Swerve. Guys, is there any more questions to come up? No more questions, then we'll try and bring Swerve back. He's just appeared again down in the. Hello, Swerve. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, bro. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. I can hear you.
Oh, that's epic. I don't know what happened there. Yeah, I don't know what happened there. I had to change microphones and I've had to go onto a different laptop.
Yeah, no worries. We've got you back.
Yeah.
That's the main thing.
Is that you playing music in the background?
It is, dude. It is. It's me. Don't you worry.
Yeah, I was thinking it's a little bit loud. It's
right.
It's very loud at this side. I'm not sure what's like for the other guys in chat.
Yep, no worries. We've killed that now anyway, so that's fine. Thanks for letting us know about that. It's just a test run.
Yeah, it just creates. It creates a lot of delay on your channel with StreamYard. I use StreamYard quite a lot, and it's not the fastest of. It's not the fastest of platforms to use when you're multi-streaming, with music in the background and passive sound and stuff. Anyway,
no worries.
I'm really sorry about my mic cutting off. Like I said, I don't know what happened there. The Howard Dale thing, the wild camping at Howard Dale is something. I'll refer to one story. There's hardly anything online about it. Right, there was some guys camping in Howard Dale. And there was a farmer who used to walk his dog every morning at a certain time. Every morning, he used to walk his dog. He owned all those fields. He was old back then, so he's probably passed now. But he owned all those fields, so he knew everything. He knew the outline of his land without having to even look. Everything had been same for decades. So, but he used to let people camp on his land, and as long as they never left a litter, as long as you always leave it how they found it and respected the area, they were okay to camp there for free, as long as they're respectful. Not too much noise, no litter, all that. So this has been happening for years. One year, right? There was a group of campers. There was at least 3 tents and at least 12 people camping in this field, and they'd been noticed by quite a few people because it was like the height of the season. There was a lot of ramblers, foragers, stuff like that. So there was people to account for that at the time. And they'd seen these people, they'd interacted with them and everything. Anyway, this farmer guy wakes up one morning, and have you heard of this before, Ben? Do you know where I'm going with this?
No, I've never heard of this, and even if I did, I'd let you carry on because I'm sure there's people that need to hear this in the chat. So, yeah, I've never heard this, though, dude. You carry on.
Well, the elderly farmer gentleman walking his dog, as he did for years, notices that there's clothes and items, and the tents are ripped to shreds, right? But these clothes and items, as he gets closer, they actually look like body parts. And he gets closer, and they really do look like body parts. It's like an arm in a sleeve and stuff like that. It's a horrific scene.
Yeah.
So he rushes back home and he rings the police. The police turn up, and within half an hour, the whole area is cordoned off, and then loads of strange like cars start turning up. You have like your 4x4 Land Rover Defenders with blacked out windows turning up and stuff like that. They cordon off the whole area, make it so-called, as they call it, sterile, whatever that's meant to mean in that situation, and then they I'll cut the story short. I will go into this if I'm welcome to come on a later live. I will go into this story more.
You're more than welcome.
Tonight,
I want the guests that have been on tonight to make a reappearance. I want new people to come and make an appearance as well. It's all about trying to build the community and stuff.
It's a big old world, isn't it? So you'll have people from America wanting to dial in and share the experiences and anecdotes with you as well. So
yeah,
it's worldwide on YouTube. It's a good platform if it's used properly. So
I've got to ask you, Swerve, do you get out and do much investigating yourself in these areas then, or are you just like the wild camping scene?
I do, but I don't know. I find myself mooching. I find myself with a wanderlust. And I walk a lot further than I should on my own. And I do. I'm interested in a lot of things. I used to be a partner at the BPS, the British Paranormal Society, and I was one of the 3 partners. And I entered that as a skeptic, and I left it in a hurry as a respectful believer in something that I have no comprehension of.
That's brilliant. I always love to hear when people start out skeptics and then have their mind turned, because that's hard to do. If someone's a skeptic,
well, I went in there as a sound engineer and a video guy, and then they wanted to make me a partner because I wanted to pitch the whole concept as a Halloween special on TV, and I was going to go for funding for it, and we would have got the funding. So they made me partner of the BPS for that. And but the thing is, we had a couple of in-house psychics, and they're very, very good people. They're not the type of people to lie. So you get your charlatans, but these people aren't charlatans. I don't know. They're dialed into something I don't understand. I respect it because it kind of scares me, because it's the big old world, isn't it?
It is, and there's way more going on than we'll ever really know, I think. And what baffles me is,
sorry, before we carry on, can I just finish that little story with a view to actually carry it on another time? Do you know the one about Dolby Forest and the body parts?
Yeah, please do.
The farmer went and rang the police, and the police turned up, right? So I've said all that bit already. Within 3 days, there was a newspaper article which he called press spin, and the official understanding or explanation or whatever you want to call that for that sighting, as in there was body parts strewn across the field, a farmer reported it, the police investigated it, and the press investigated, and it turned out, and here's the kicker, the press articles say that there were mannequins stolen from a shop.
Yeah, right, okay.
Can I just read you a little? There was a guy called John Todd, and he was an investigator for North Yorkshire County Police. Can I just read you a little excerpt from one of his reports?
Please do, please do.
Let me just find my mouse. Like I said, I've just had to change my laptop and my microphone because I don't know what happened there. It was like it was strange. It was like I got cut off. Let me just find this here.
I just want to say while you're sorting that. Yeah, sorry, yes, Swerve. I just want to speak to everybody in the comments while you're sorting that out and just say thank you to absolutely everybody for being here. I mean, it's been amazing. This was really short notice. I think I put a post up really quickly an hour before this live went live. And I think that we peaked at about 100 and something people watching at any one time tonight. So thank you so much for being here, everyone. And please do spread the word, share these videos. And Chris Turner as well, great friend of mine. Thank you, mate. I'm really glad that you're enjoying the show. So yes, Swerve, so you just crack back on, mate, with your story whenever you're ready.
There was a researcher, a ufologist researcher years ago called Tony Todd. He's passed now, bless him. But
he was the animal and human mutilation guy, right?
Yeah, that guy. Yeah. Fascinating. If you can dig any of his papers up, they're just great reading. The way they tie into other things locally.
Yeah, I've done a load of research on his work, and like you say, it's absolutely fascinating. And he was definitely. There is such a thing as pushing this phenomena too far. Like as an investigator, we get to a point where you can start touching on things that are really now serious and getting the big wigs interested. And I think that he was at that point. I think that he was really touching onto some serious stuff there.
Well, he was ready to write a book. He wrote the book. He was ready to compile his book, and I think that's what threatened him initially. Yeah. But yeah, it's crazy out there. But this excerpt, you may be familiar. Well, no, I'm sure you're not familiar with this because you wouldn't have gone into Dalby Forest on your own, bro, and camped there.
I don't know. I got rugby tackled in Rendlesham Forest.
And Rendlesham it's like Todd even did the Rendlesham investigations. He was one of the investigators. He had an open pass investigation. He had good access, sort of thing. Here's the excerpt. Tony Todd. He relates to a story of 7 people found dead over a period of several weeks in the same field in Dalby Forest, North Yorkshire. Classic mutilation involving the removal of tongues, eyes, bloodless and hairless. At the time, the story started to leak out. A cover story created by unknown people of mannequins being placed in a field was circulated to the press. Tony stated in these situations the bodies remain missing, as potential awkward questions would be asked about the case and the causes of death by the families. Indeed. Todd goes on to relate in 1997 that one of his contacts witnessed the removal of a body with a hearse nearby and an official car with a blue light on the inside of the windscreen. Dodd feels it would have been a Ministry of Defence vehicle, but there were no markings on it. One of Dodd's friends was a friend of the undertaker involved in these retrievals. Note the word retrieval. Why? He approached the undertaker, who flatly refused to talk about it. His friend lately approached another undertaker from the area who said he is unable to talk about it due to him having to sign the Official Secrets Act. The undertaker said there have been more than several retrievals. 7, quote unquote, is only the tip of the iceberg. Interestingly, Dodd goes on to relate that in February 1997, in the same forest, the dead bodies of 7 rabbits, 1 fox, 1 badger, and 1 sheep, and 1 deer were discovered in an area no bigger than the average family sitting room. They each had a hole in their head, their rectum, cord and squared patches of their skin neatly removed, bloodless, as though they went in between like the capillaries of the blood vessels, sort of thing. And there's not much stuff online. You have to really dig for what this guy was actually telling people about.
Right. And just listening to that description of what was found and what he was investigating at them times it's horrific. Like, but before we go to what I'm gonna ask you one last question. What do you think was causing this? Do you think that was more ritualistic, or do you think that was more extraterrestrial? What do you think?
Well, I don't think it was us. I don't think it was humans, because we have this opportunity to enter at any abattoir or game reserve and just take samples however we want to. These things can be bred for these purposes, like they are, same as stem cell research and everything. So it's not a clandestine government motive to go into these places and core out a deer, because we can do this in a lab. So who is it? It's not bored billionaires they've tried everything on the list, and it's like, oh, let's go and try and core out a deer. It's I think there's a lot more to that, and I think it runs into some of the other subjects that you've covered in some of your videos on your channel, like the cryptids and other subjects like that. There was an article what got buried years ago. It showed there was a laboratory in France, and there was a police raid on it. And these police officers had certain things in handcuffs with duvet covers over their head. And you couldn't see what they were, but you could see the feet. They were hairy. They had hairy feet and weird toenails. There used to be a website years ago called Prison Planet. I've not heard of it. I'm not sure if it still exists, and there's a couple more. And they were featured on there. They're actually, these pictures got, and a little bit of footage got featured on there, but they got buried. They got taken down and buried, sort of thing. So the cryptid thing, I think a lot of that actually, well, it does start at home, because if there was a higher intelligence, they'd know that there was no benevolence to actually mixing these genes together. It can only end in tragedy and trauma. So it's it's definitely humans testing these things. I don't know if you've heard of the I can't remember what it's called. There's a place in California, it's a laboratory, and they're meant to have a monster. Oh, Montauk, the Montauk. Have you heard of the Montauk Labs?
Yeah, Montauk. That's it's like the Montauk Project, isn't it? Where Stranger Things is based on the Montauk Project.
Is it?
Yeah.
I don't really watch TV, but I do know the Montauk was a real thing. And
so Stranger Things is based around the Montauk Project and what was going on there. Swerve, it's been absolutely brilliant talking to you, mate, and thank you so much for having the courage to come on and speak to me. I've really appreciated this.
No, it's been really enjoyable. It's been great talking to you, mate. It's been really good.
Absolutely, and do keep in touch.
As well, if possible. That would be really good, because I've got a lot of things to. I don't know if you find them interesting or not, but I think you will.
I find everything interesting.
Everything that I come out with is cross-referenceable online. Maybe not the Tony Todd. You can maybe find a few articles by him, but apart from that, you'll maybe find what I was reading to you guys earlier. But apart from that, most of the other stuff's gone. You can't find it online. So,
brilliant, Swerve.
But these things did exist, and so the still exists. So yeah, Ben, just be careful when you're wild camping, bro. Take your bro with you. Take your brother with you, man.
I will do, and I appreciate that. I appreciate that you're concerned as well, so that means a lot. Right, we'll get you back on Swerve, because I can talk to you forever and a day about these things, and it sounds like you've got a hell of a lot more that you want to share with people. So we'll definitely do this again. Keep in contact, mate, and we'll get you back on again soon.
I will do. It's been great. Thank you.
Cheers, buddy. Speak soon, mate.
God bless.
Okay, so that was fascinating. We touched on some things there that not a lot of people do know about. Like these animal and human mutilations that are happening here in the UK. It's real stuff. This is real life. You can go on the internet and you can look at some of these cases that have been pulled up, and and how far down the rabbit hole that they went. It's absolutely amazing. Melly Germany, thank you so much for the donation. I really do appreciate that. Thank you so much. Hope you guys are all enjoying this. We're going to have time now, I think, just for one more guest, because Kurt Mitchell's been waiting patiently in the back there. So, Kurt, thank you so much. I'm going to bring you on right now, buddy.
Hello, mate. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm really well. How are you?
I'm great, thank you, man. I've just been binging your channel for the past week, man. It's awesome.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, it's really opened me up to some new things, because I've always been interested in the paranormal, and for the past few years, sort of the UFO subject. And then to hear your story about what you spotted on that trip, and then also to hear about all these other stories of things that I kind of questioned before, but hearing these stories, it's a real eye opener. So yeah, really great, man.
That's good, because that means that, you know, when I first started this channel, that was the aim. It was a case of, I don't care if anyone believes me. I've had my experience, and I now know that these things do exist, and I'm sure there's many others out there like myself as well. So when I first started out, it was just a place for me to speak to like-minded people. You'll often hear me at the start of my video saying, you know, thank you for joining me, like-minded people, etc. And that's what it's about. It's about people that are normal who can't have these conversations with other people. So yeah, I'm really pleased that you're enjoying the content and stuff. So have you had an experience, whether it be paranormal, UFOs, or?
Yeah, I've had a mixture of paranormal and UFO. I mean, in regards to the paranormal, I kind of related to the story about you and your brother in your house.
Yeah.
And fortunately for me, they weren't quite as terrifying. But this house is kind of, my house has kind of become like a magnet for it. But luckily, it's all sort of people that we're aware should be here, like family members, friends that have sort of died and passed on, because they kind of make it quite obvious. The one I will touch on, though, is more UFO based. And it was in my garden one night. This is how it all started, really. And I was aware of satellites and stuff. But one night I just saw this object just sort of hovering and then blinking out and then making weird sort of movements and stuff like that. And one night I decided to do some more research, and I found, I think you may have touched on it before, CE5.
Yeah, that's right. That's the Stephen Greer stuff, right? The CE5 meditation.
Yeah, that's right. And you know, kind of kept an open mind and sort of did some of the meditations, which were, you know, hard to get your head around at first. But I sort of started doing it, and I wasn't really getting anything until I saw these big flashes in the night sky. I guarantee you, on one of your trips, you're going to see these flashes.
Yeah.
And they're not shooting stars. They're very, like, it's almost like a satellite is moving, but you can tell it's not a satellite. And then it does these big blinks of white flashes at you, which are quite, they stand out. And anyway, I was getting some of these, and one night I did the meditation, and it was just so active, and I could feel it in the air. Everything felt something, not that it was a sinister, but it was more, you know, something's going on here. And these flashes just continue to happen. And then I woke up I went back to sleep and woke up about sort of 2 o'clock in the morning, and my friend was on the phone. He called, I gave him a call to sort of tell him about what had happened. And as I'm on the phone to him, I see this massive flash, and this object is it just looks like a massive golden star that's above sort of my house, really. And then as I'm talking to him and explaining to him what I'm seeing, I start to hear a noise in my kitchen right next to me, and there's no one else in the house, and it's loud. It's like someone's going through and just picking up random stuff and looking at it. And then I heard two people talking in a language that I've never ever heard in my life.
And this was inside your kitchen?
This was inside my kitchen, yeah. And whilst I was on the phone, bearing in mind the connection has been crystal clear all the time I've been on the phone. As I'm hearing this, his voice is going crackly, and the phone is making some weird noises, and yeah, and then I kind of left and just went into my room, and then it kind of spiraled out of control from there, and this was in the first lockdown of 2020, and the next week after that I began to, in my room I've got like a decking which has a glass double doors, and for about 4 or 5 nights I was convinced I was hearing little knocks on my window, and it would wake me up at night. And I kind of went out to my mum, called my brother, spoke to my mates about it, and of course they were like, you were right. They were a bit concerned, as people would be. Some people are a bit like,
yeah,
what's going on with you? And I was one of my best friends. I continuously told him about it. I was like, I'm not going mental. And one night I was on PS4, and I put down my controller with my headset to go to the kitchen to make a cuppa, and come back, and he swore to me that he heard the knock on my window that I'd been explaining to him. And he then goes, I swear I heard it. And he was like, I thought you were kind of just, making stuff up, really. That night,
because that usually is like the go-to, isn't it? Like a lot of people, before we start even saying paranormal or extraterrestrial, what we normally do is say, "Am I going crazy?"
That's it.
Yeah, and so Kurt, I've got 2 questions for you. You mentioned that you was practicing CE5 at the beginning.
Yep.
And obviously then hearing the voices in the kitchen almost sounds like paranormal now to me. So do you think this is a mixture of the two? Like extraterrestrial and paranormal? Or?
Yeah, I think so, because...
Do you think that maybe the CE5 as well? Like,
sorry, what was that, mate?
Yeah, I was just saying, like, a lot of the time, it's something that I spoke about on the videos before, is that we use CE5 specifically for extraterrestrials. We use Ouija boards specifically for the paranormal. And we use tree knocks specifically for cryptids. But what happens if, like CE5 works for the paranormal, and what's actually happened is that there is something active in your house and it's picked up on you doing the meditation?
I think you're bang on there, actually, mate. Because I've seen in one of Stephen Greer's photos, and there's a story behind it of one of the meditations. As far as I'm aware, back in the day, 6 people on his team were all at the same time, including him, diagnosed with one of the rarest forms of cancer ever detected, and all 5 of them died. Yeah, I mean,
was there any history, like ancient history regarding your house? Is it built on any kind of ancient land, or anyone dying?
No, it's strange, because I know I live on the Isle of Wight, so so far south, and I think where I am, it must be built on some sort of ley line. But what you were saying about, is it both? It certainly is, because that night I was hearing these knocks, and this is where it goes pretty crazy for me, is that the knocks that I heard, I went to bed that night and I got woken up by the knocks. Bearing in mind, I thought I was awake, but I was actually asleep. But what was strange was, in my dream, everything felt real. I heard the knock, so I opened up my decking doors. I took one step, I could even feel the floor beneath my feet, and I've turned to my left, and my late granddad, who died a year before, is sat to my left. And I kind of look at him, and this is where it gets even stranger. He looks and points out to the sky, and I see one of these flashes again, and then before I can turn back around, he's stood right next to me. He puts his hand on my shoulder and says that I need to be careful. And I thought he was talking about the flashes, but about a week later, my girlfriend of 5 years broke up with me. My best friend ended his life, and my uncle got cancer.
Oh my God, I'm sorry to hear that. Dude. That is
thanks, dude.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry to hear that, but that's really coincidental. That I know they say things like that come in threes anyway, but to see the apparition of your granddad on the bed, and then he points out of the window to this light being or force. It's absolutely crazy to think what's going on there. What intrigues me about that is I've heard so many stories before. There's one story that I'm going straight back to now in my mind, and some guy heard a disturbance downstairs in his kitchen, and he'd gone downstairs to go see what was going on, obviously thinking intruder.
Sure.
And he saw his mantelpiece looking at some photos. And when he confronted this creature, or the creature heard him coming down the stairs, it instantly turned into the person that it was looking at on the picture, which was his nephew.
Whoa, geez.
Yeah, and so that blew my mind, because it's almost like this creature did that, knowing that, if you see your nephew in the house, you're going to be less alarmed than if you see someone with a balaclava or a creature.
That's right.
Yeah, and so I'm asking the question now: did they pretend to be your granddad, and they showed themselves as your granddad, knowing that it would keep you calm, but the warning was still the same, or is it actually your granddad? It's a fascinating thing that you've experienced there, and I guess we'll know when it's our time. I guess when our life is over, that's when we get all the answers. But until then, it's just absolutely fascinating to try and chase those answers and think about what the hell is going on.
It's always a mystery, man. But that's the thrill of it,
Exactly.
We'll find out one day.
It's the chase. Thank you so much, Kurt, for coming on. We've now hit the hour mark, and that story was amazing. I will get you back on again.
Thank you, buddy.
Please do tune in for the lives again in future, because it's been really nice, just for me as well, to talk to you and get to know a bit about your life and your story. So I really do appreciate that. Thank you
thank you so much for having me, man. This is such a good idea, and I'll definitely be tuning in and coming in again, man.
No worries. I really appreciate that. You take it easy, buddy. Speak
no
soon.
worries, man. So thanks, mate. Bye-bye.
Okay, guys, unfortunately, that is all we've got time for. Wow, the hour flew really, really quick. That's 1 hour, 10 minutes now. And I was quite worried, to be honest. I mean, we didn't start off too well. The signal, for some reason, dropped out at the very beginning, but we made a miraculous recovery. So we've had some really interesting guests, and I'd like to say thank you to each and every one of the guests that did come on tonight and share those experiences. We all know that when you have something happen to you in your life that you can't quite explain, it's not always that easy to talk about it, let alone come on a channel like the 401 files and openly discuss this stuff. So you guys in the comments have been all really kind as well. There's been no ridicule, which is what I want. There's been no name calling or anything like that. And I encourage everyone, to spread the word. This is going to be a safe place to share these stories. And once again, thank you to my brother as well, Gaz, who's done an amazing job tonight doing the admin in the background. I really couldn't have done this without him. Bringing up all the banners and introducing the guest into the back room. It's been absolutely amazing. To say this is the first one, I'm blown away. Like it's run smoothly. It really has run smoothly. But until next time, guys, you all take it easy, stay safe wherever you are in the world. Look after yourselves, and as I always say, if you are in a position to do so, then please do look after somebody else as well. Take it easy, guys, and I'll speak to you all soon.